So you've talked about in the past being in a abusive relationship. You've talked about growing up in an abusive household. Obviously, you being a woman in this industry, and then on top of that, you being a black woman in this industry. Do you feel like survive? I shouldn't say surviving. Like conquering all that stuff is where your power and all your confidence comes from.
You can say surviving. I prefer survivor over victim. So
Okay.
yeah, I think survivor is appropriate, or conquering. Yeah, I think going through anything in life, it makes you stronger and more resilient, particularly if you take the time to heal and invest in yourself in that way through, therapy and, taking the proper steps to take care of yourself, but also learning lessons from those situations to, help avoid them in the future and help, educate other people and, awareness and giving back. I think all those things help to, form your story as
Yeah.
opposed to letting it become a negative thing in your life. So, yeah, I mean, growing up that way definitely forms the independent side of me where I feel very much like I will never fully rely on someone else, and
Mm-hmm.
that's, I think, anyone who's had any sort of abandonment or abuse or have dealt with, a parent that had uh, substance abuse problems or anything like that. Like, you grow this callus to help survive in those situations. And it's hard to sort of shed that as you become an adult because you know that that's what your life can be if you're that subject to another person's depravities or, shortcomings or mental illness or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is a part of who I am, and it took a long time for me to be able to talk about it publicly, but the more I think I talk about it, not only do I always get feedback from people who aren't ready to talk about it, who then feel ready to talk about it because they see someone else talking about it,
Yeah.
which is a big part of how I was able to get involved in the first place. I was in an abusive relationship, and a friend of mine took me to an event for domestic violence survivors, and I was listening to all these women tell these insane horrific stories of being like kidnapped and all kinds of just crazy stuff, and they were just speaking about it so calmly and this collected, and like walked everyone through what happened and how they were able to get out of it and what happened and what they did and the steps that they took. And it definitely put me in a space where when you're in situations like that, you feel like you're totally alone, like no one else is going through this in the world, which
Mm-hmm.
is not true, but that's how you feel. And on top of that, you're isolated from everyone. You're being torn away from the things that you love or the person that you are. And so now talking about it and, having people know this is a part of my story, it makes it easier to not only like heal from all of those past traumas, but also help other people, because I know that people hearing it will like put them in a space where they feel comfortable just knowing like they're not alone. Like, the other
Yeah.
people go through this all the time, no matter what they look like, where they're from, if they're rich, if they're not rich, where they live, it doesn't matter. It's all over the world. It happens all the time, unfortunately. But it's not something that's just happening to you.
I really appreciate your realness because I just feel like there's not a lot of people who have your perspective or willing to give that perspective in terms of, like you said, going to go get help or going to therapy, something that I think people of color all need to do. I go to therapy. I think it's amazing. It's helped me. And after going to therapy, I would literally tell everyone should go. So I just want to say thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I'm
For
proud of
real.
you. And like, that means a lot.
Yeah. I'm happy you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I think therapy is it's very important. It's hard, I think, to take the first step into therapy because you feel like you're admitting something's wrong with you. And because we're all survivors in some way from something,
Mm-hmm.
you are it's almost like admitting that you're broken or that you need help. And that feels like an ego shot almost. Like, I'm tough, like I've survived this, I got it on my own, I don't need this. But that's why I don't really like to call it mental health. It's just health. Because if your foot was broken, you would not tough it out. You
Right.
would go to the doctor and get your foot fixed.
Yeah.
If you were throwing up every single day, you would go to the doctor and find out what's wrong. If you couldn't sleep, like if anything was going on with your body that caused you that kind of physical pain or discomfort, you would go get it fixed because it would be nagging at you. It would be prohibiting you from living a full life.
Right.
But for some reason, when it comes to mental health and our emotions, we just
Stigmatize it. We push
Right.
it down.
you know, we just push it like it's good, it's cool. Like, no, it's not. You're not good. Like, you can't get through the day. You're missing out on life. You're not able to have real relationships. You're damaging your job or your friendships or your, you know, your partner's relationship. You're causing yourself harm and you're deteriorating because you won't go get help. And
Mhm.
when you look at it that way, as opposed to looking at it as I'm, you know, there's something wrong with me. Like, there is something wrong with you, but that's okay
It's okay.
because
Yeah.
we've all been to the doctor before. We've been to the dentist. We've been to the eye doctor. Like,
Right.
it's part of your body, and it's arguably the most important part of your body because if your brain is not working properly, if your emotions aren't working properly, you can't do anything else. So
For real.
I think that if we start talking about it that way, along with a lot of, you know, other stigmas that we need to, you know, get rid of,
For real.
but I think it does help to change the perspective of it. Like, if I don't feel good, I can't do anything else. Like, I can't be myself. I
Mhm.
can't be good at work. I can't be good in my relationships. I can't be positive. I can't work for my future. I can't sleep. Like, it affects everything that you do. So therapy isn't just for, you know, trying to fix traumas. Like, sometimes you're good and you should still go to therapy just to
Mhm.
make sure that you're doing the right thing and you're, you know, establishing positive habits and you're not falling into old habits. Like, it's just a tune up sometimes, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
That 1000%.
$1,000,000%.